A few days ago, I was playing on chess.com, trying to record some shots, but at a certain point, I found this guy. And now, I don't know why you can't see this in the analysis, but if I click on his profile, as you can see, he is a national master. Although his rapid rating is pretty similar to mine, 2200, so I know for the fact that I can beat him. So he played e4, and if I can, I'm always going to play the French, my favorite defense. So e4, e6, and he played d4. Now, obviously, d4 makes sense. He's trying to take control of the center, and that's one of the way to play against the French. Also, another annoying line is d3, and you try to play a really solid game, a sort of King's Indian attack against the French. But instead of doing that, I play d4, and as you can see, the main point of playing the French is that after you play e6, you want to counter the center with d5. So for this reason, I play d5, and he played knight on c3, and at this point, I played knight on f6. And the point is that if they play e5, as he did, this is kind of provoking e5. I want to withdraw the knight on d7, and looks like this move doesn't make any sense because I already moved the knight 2 times in 2 moves, which usually is not a great thing. Also, this knight is blocking my other knight, so I might have to develop the knight on c6, blocking this pawn, so looks like it doesn't make any sense. That only makes a lot of sense because the point is that I want to play c5. Knight on c6 and put pressure not only on this pawn but also on the e5 pawn, so I have also ideas of playing f6, then to destroy the center, so it is actually a really good move. Looks passive but is really aggressive. My opponent decided to play f4, which is one of the moves you can play, obviously. That's an aggressive setup, no problem with it. Usually, when they play f4, things are going to get mad because white is going to castle long and black is going to castle short, and obviously it's just pure madness. So it's actually a really fun opening to play too. I decided to play c5, which obviously is pretty much the move you have to play. c5 in order to counter the center and to free the square for the knight. So I can develop the knight on c6 without blocking the pawn, the c pawn. So he played knight on f3, which is still theory, and at this point, knight on c6. The point, obviously, is that I still want to keep putting a lot of pressure on the center, and he played bishop on e3. He decided to develop the dark square bishop before the light square because he actually want to castle long. He want to play queen on d2 and then castle long, so that makes sense. And since I want to castle short, I had to play bishop on e7, obviously. And now queen on d2. After queen on d2, I can castle short, but now you have to be careful. And there is already a trap. Because if you castle long now, which is a move that I believe even a kind of advanced player might play, you need to know your theory in this line. You can't castle now, because if you castle, as you can see, is already kind of -2, -1.5, because I have the move c4. And after they play c4, white attack is not so strong. Let's say he plays g4, which is one of the best moves. I have b5, and the point is that black is just faster. Yeah, b5 doesn't really hang a pawn, because if you take it, I have rook on b8. And let's say you play knight on d6, for example, I can just take the knight, pawn take, and as you can see, this is going to be crashing. I have knight on b4, ideas of queen on a5, and is already -3 because my attack is too fast. So going back, you absolutely don't want to castle in that position, as you can see. So before doing that, you might play bishop on e2, for example, and then castle short. But if you want to castle long, you want to take this pawn. So after you take the pawn, I obviously don't have the idea of playing c4. But my opponent played a3. Now, a3 is not the end of the world. Although I still have the idea of playing c4. And I'm not going to play c4 now, because I might want to take. I want to keep this move an option, so it is more flexible. So I decided to play a6 instead. Now a6 makes a lot of sense because playing a6 I'm just preventing knight on b5 or bishop on b5, so it is always a useful move. Also it has another purpose that if he castle long I have ideas of b5, which is obviously a really good and aggressive move. So he decided to take the pawn again because c4 is really strong, and at this point I decided to take it with the knight. Obviously, taking with the knight is a really good move. If you take with the bishop, I mean, we just played, but if I take with the knight, you usually don't want to give me the bishop, the pair of bishops, so I have a knight which is closer to the center and usually it is pretty strong. So he decided to castle, which is saying is inaccurate, but I mean, he's kind of following his plan. Although he's inaccurate because I believe I have a very strong attack going on. I mean, my attack is pretty fast, and I decided to play b5. Now, b5 is strong because I'm already threatening, let's say, to move the bishop and, I don't know, play rook on b8. Or already keep pushing now, so yeah, b5 is kinda dangerous for him. He can't really push the pawn on the king side, and he should try to defend this position. He played knight on d4, which is not the best move, because, okay, it's true that you're threatening the knight, although after I play bishop on d7, and the best move was bishop on b7. I thought bishop on d7 was better, but yeah, after I play this, I mean, if you take, I take with the bishop, my bishop just get better, so it doesn't really do a lot. Also, the point of bishop d7 is that a lot of times they have ideas of f5, but if I have the bishop on this diagonal, I mean, that should be covered, should be. So he played king on b1, but I really believe that in this position you need to play faster move. Like, this is a war. We need to push pawns, we need to develop pieces. You can't waste time playing king on b1. Yeah, I played rook on b8, which is obviously pretty strong. Now that the king is on the b file, I just want to push pawns and try to open the position. So that is obviously my plan. And now he decided to play knights. But doing this, I mean, my bishop is just better. His knight was good though, because it was in the center. And my knight was worse than his, definitely. So it doesn't make... So I think that didn't really make a lot of sense. He played queen on f2, which is interesting, trying to put pressure on the knight. But I think he missed the move knight on a4, which is a miss. I missed that too. Stockfish is saying that knight on d7 is also -2 for some reason. I mean, bringing the knight back this way, I mean, I can't even reroute it. In my mind, didn't make any sense. Apparently, yeah, it is a pretty good move, but I decided to play knight on a4, and knight on a4 is logical because, first of all, I'm just threatening to take. So you need to do something about that. If I take, I mean, your strategy is ruined, this pawn falls, you get destroyed because your king is wide open. So yeah, you should pretty much take the knight. My point was that now the file is open, so my attack is even stronger. And I mean, this kind of do. I'm already threatening bishop takes on a3. My opponent decided to defend this threat playing bishop on c5, and I decided to play queen on c7. Queen on c7, let's say you take, I take, and life is good. Apparently, a good move was just playing d4. d4? I think with the idea of bishop d5, I mean, I'm just blundering a pawn. Oh yeah, but still threatening this, so you can take that way. Okay, but let's say you take this way, there is bishop take. And this way... What if I play this? You can't take this way? Oh. Yeah, if you take this way, I guess I have bishop take. And if you take the bishop, I can take the rook. Yeah. I absolutely missed that move, to be fair. I didn't even consider d4. Like, it looked like that blundered the pawn. But it doesn't really do that. And by pushing this pawn, you free this square for the bishop, which is obviously a really good thing. Yeah, I missed that. And I traded. And he decided to take the pawn. Now... taking a pawn in this position is not clever at all, because you just keep opening the queen side for me. which is not a good thing because you castle long, so your king is on the queen side, actually is not on the king side, and that is a bad thing if you keep taking my pawns. So obviously I calculated that and I thought zero problems. Also, taking the pawn now, it means that I just have queen takes on a3 because the rook is still pinning the pawn, so you can take. After queen takes on a3, you have a lot of problems. I mean, I'm threatening mate. Luckily, you have a move like c3 that defends everything. But he played a move which was even better, to be fair, which is queen on d4. With queen on d4, you defend d square. Although now you have problems because playing queen on d4, you allow me to play rook on b4. Now, it's not really precise. Although what I calculated, which was forcing, I mean, you can't do basically anything else, was really good for me. So I calculated that I was going to reach an endgame where I was considerably better and I had a lot of winning chance, which, I mean, was true. So playing this move, if you move the queen, I mean, let's say you play queen on c3 because you still want to defend this, I just take. Because the rook is still pinning the pawn, so you basically lose a queen. You can't do that. So you can't move the queen. The only move you have is danger levels, so you play rook on d3. And the point is that if I take the queen, you take my queen. And if I take the rook with the queen, I just lose a queen. As simple as that. So I saw that. But I saw that in this position, I could have played rook on a8. So now the bishop has to move, because otherwise it is an annoying bishop. I might want to play rook on c8 in the future, so first of all I attack the bishop, so it has to move, and it goes in a worse position, and now I can just take the pawn. So I saw this position and I was like, well, I'm up a pawn, we are same colored bishop, so I have winning chance. So for this reason I decided to go for this, which was clever by me, I have to say, transposing into a really good endgame. He played rook on c3 attacking the bishop, and now pretty much the only move I have is bishop on e8. Yeah, it is passive, but let's say I play bishop on d7, I give him rook on c7 with tempo. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Also with bishop on e8 and not getting mated. I mean, if you play rook on c8, let's say I move this rook, not getting mated because the bishop covers everything, so yeah, it is a good move. He decided to move the king, trying to win this pawn in the future, and I played rook on f2. Rook on f2 is the best move because, as you can see, I mean, this pawn is weak, but I can't really target it because there is this bishop. And this pawn is weak. Also, I'm putting pressure on this rank, and the king is on the same rank. So for this reason, is a pretty good move. He defended the pawn with rook on g1, and now I play g6. The point of g6 is that now I can play king on g7, so I can get away in the future. Also, why g6 instead of h7? Because h7 doesn't make any sense because the bishop is already covering this square, so I still get him mated. That's the point. So that's why I play g6, basically stopping the pressure of this bishop. And he played h3, trying to launch a sort of minority attack on the king side, although you don't have enough pieces to mate me. Also, you just have a rook on the king side, and the other pieces are on the center or on the queen side, so I thought that didn't make a lot of sense. Probably what you're supposed to do is try to bring pieces on this side and try to win this pawn back somehow. Try to hold somehow, to be fair. Yeah, I played king on g7 because now I can move the bishop. And my idea is that I want to play rook on b8. Not because I want to put pressure there, but because the stronger piece he has is definitely this bishop. This bishop is just a monster. He's really annoying, he's covering a lot of squares. So the point of rook on b8 is that I can play bishop on b5, and now my bishop is terrible. So if I can manage to trade bishops, I mean, I'm in a very good shape. I'm up a pawn, and this rook is going to be better than this, and this rook. It is really well placed. And now he played rook on c7, which makes sense, but allow me to play rook on b8 again, with the idea of trading bishops. h4 again, not the best move, I can just ignore it. It's not going to do anything. And yeah, I played bishop on b5, playing bishop, and I managed to play bishops. And that's a fantastic position. I mean, he's winning. If I play well, this position is winning because this pawn is pretty weak. This pawn is weak. There is a lot of pressure on this pawn, and the king is on the same rank of my rook. So I'm definitely much better. He played g4, which again is a bad move. This minority attack doesn't work. Like, it doesn't work at all. Also remember that this rook defends the f7 pawn. So I played d4. I thought it was really clever playing d4. Apparently it is a mistake. And I thought it was really clever because, first of all, I'm attacking the pawn. But if you play rook on c4, which he played, my point wasn't to play pawns. My point was to play d3. And d3 is a really good move. The point is that you can't really take this pawn, because if you do that, I can take. And I mean, okay, you can stop this pawn now, but it's going to fall pretty soon, as you can see. So you need to do something about that. And my opponent decided to play rook on c1. Now, I missed d2. I decided to take, but I had d2 in this position, which I completely forgot about. I don't know how. I don't know how, to be fair, but sometimes you just forgot that the pawn can also go forward instead of taking. And yeah, the point is that after you play rook on d1, I can take the pawn and you're not going to stop me. So yeah, that was crashing, but I took the pawn instead, which obviously was a bad move. Although I thought this endgame was winning for me, which again is true, but I had a much better move. So you basically have to take, and after that I'm happily trading, because if I manage to trade pieces, I mean, as you can see, f5 pawn, e3, I'm up 2 pawns, there has to be a way to win this endgame. Although he can win this pawn back. I played rook on a5, the best move, still defending it. And now he keeps putting pressure on this pawn. Although, what I can do, well, I should have played f5, which makes sense. I mean, it's really time to push. I'm starting to bring the king. I don't have a lot of time, so I don't want to spend 2 minutes. So at this point, I'm not playing the most precise move, obviously, because I can't think too much. But the point is that my king is closer now, so let's say he takes. That's losing for white, because after I take, king take, and I have, let's say, king on e5. Okay, he's saying king on e5 is a mistake. No, it's not a mistake. I'm still winning. Shut up, Stockfish. You know absolutely nothing. He's saying the best move is g5, although after g5, I have this. Oh, he's saying king on d5. Oh yeah, king on e5 is even better. Yeah, I mean, this is winning. If we keep playing it, this has to be winning. Let's see. Show me some line in the future. Yeah, as you can see, as we go in the future, this happen. And the point is that, let me go back. And by the way, again, I'm better than Stockfish. I just want to outline this, mark this. If you take, I have a 4 on 2. And you can't push this pawn till the end, because my king is close enough to block it. My king is close enough. So in the meanwhile, I can block your pawn, and I can push my pawns. And I show you another thing. Let's say this happen, because you might think, well, the king can shield the pawn, and that's it, that's over. It actually can't, because let's say I play king on e5, which I think is the best move. He's saying it's a mistake, but because I can't think. And let's say keep pushing. Yeah, in fact. Okay, at this point, I can play f5. Let's say keep pushing his king. Well, first of all, I can take, so okay. I have a better move. Let's say they take. And they take. They keep pushing. I have f4. They keep pushing. Well, I have f3, so it's over. Let's say instead of doing that, they push this pawn. I can play f4. Well, what if they push this pawn? Well, at this point, I have just king on d6. Okay, you can defend it, but I keep pushing. You can push, but block your pawn. And in the meanwhile, you are trying to reach your pawn, but you are 1 move away. Well, first of all, I can just play king on b8 and it's over, but maybe also f2 wins. Well, I wouldn't play f2 in this position, yeah. King on b8 and it's over. And that's why after I played king on f6, he decided not to take the pawn. And I played king on e7 and it's still the same thing. It's still the same thing, you can't really take the pawn. And now he played king on b4, king on d7. I'm trying to centralize the king. This is defended, this is not even hanging, I'm up to pawn, so I'm going to win slowly. But my opponent played c4, king on c4, and now it's time to punish it. And I saw a beautiful move. The move that ends the game, which I played, which is a3. And a3 has a huge point. As you can see, the king moved, so freed d square. 3d square for my rook. I also saw that the king and the rook are on the same rank, which means that if I can play rook on a4 successfully, I'm just going to win the rook. So the threat is this: you can't take and you can't push. No, I mean, you could push, but if you push, I make a queen. Because otherwise, I just play rook on a4, and now it's over. It is absolutely over. The best move is saying is rook on f1, but you can't really do nothing about that. You're going to get destroyed. I mean, I can take, and it's over. I can defend this pawn, win this, and try to make a queen. Obviously, that's the plan, and it is pretty easy to win. He decided to take the pawn, blundering the fact that I had rook on a4, and after I played rook on a4, obviously he's going to lose the rook, and he resigned. So he got absolutely destroyed in the endgame, and I'm pretty good of this game because this endgame was absolutely... I mean, I played this endgame at a really high level, I have to say, so I'm pretty happy about that. I made some mistake in the middle game. It was complicated, so yeah, I definitely need to get better at that, but yeah, even a National Master, it is beatable. You just have to have the right mindset and obviously train a lot. So I hope this video was helpful and see you soon with the next video.